So let's go. Who is it that's going to join us this week? No other than an under-20 youth player that is going to give us a wee insight of what it was like to play at Celtic in the youth system. So will you please welcome Mr. Patrick McNally. What about you, Paddy?
What's happening, Tony? Thanks for having us, mate.
Great. That's great to hear from you, mate. How are you keeping? How's this lockdown treating you?
I could stay on, just like everyone else. It's a wee bit, it's getting on a wee bit at the minute, but I'm trying to train and whatever else and do wee bits about the house, and Matt has me doing plenty, so
so I noticed. We're going to put you on the big screen here as well. Lovely photograph of you in the 125 years hoop shirt when you were playing.
Happy days.
It's on the big screen for you, so you'll see that when you're finished anyway. So we're going to talk about your youth, how you started off in football. I'm sure parents had drummed it into you of where your loyalties lie. As a kid, who did you start off with?
So my very first team was Immaculata in the Lower Falls.
Yeah.
So my granny's from up there, so I used to be up there quite a lot. So started playing for Emmons from when I was about 9 or 10, mate, and then I moved on to actually play for Newhill, which is closer to you.
Yep.
Up there in the west, and then North Belfast, and then eventually I went to Clintonville at about 13 or 14, and then obviously I was at Clintonville from then on through,
Yeah, they're all big top teams you're playing for, sort of like in the west. Immaculata, brilliantly behind them, so with Newhill, and as I say, you ended up in the Reds. So how successful were you in the youth teams up in the Reds? Who was looking after you up there when you were?
Danny Clarkin was my manager. Danny and John Clarkin, two brothers. Now they don't do it anymore, but for us they were unbelievable. That age group, 94 birthday, we won everything every year, whether it be the league or Northern Cup. It was between us and Linfield, and we always seemed to put them to it. So we were really successful there. And as you know, the likes of Big Conal and all played there, so with a good team.
Another great big lad.
So, and then we had players from all over the place. We had players from Derry and Strabane and everywhere else. So Danny was brilliant in getting players to come up, even at that young age. We were really good. So from an early age, you had that sort of taste of winning. So it was good.
Yeah, and they're very successful. We always knew when we were up at the Reds that, they always talked about this youth system. It was all coming through. It was all really pulling together back there. And it was no surprise, when you all started playing professionally and started getting moves to here, there and everywhere. So what happened at Cliftonville to get Celtic interested in watching you and bringing you over?
Well, funny enough, when I was at the Reds, I was at quite a few teams in England before Celtic were even interested.
Right.
And I was at Man United, Leicester and Stoke and Hull, and it was back and forth every sort of, Easter holidays. And so I was actually going to sign for a club in England before Celtic were interested.
Right.
Now, as you know, like my family are Celtic daft, and so am I, and I've been over from the game since I was no age. But I didn't actually get scouted for Celtic playing for Cliftonville. I was playing for Northern Ireland against Slovakia, in Slovakia.
Right.
And I played. Now on the team sheet, on the international team sheet, it obviously has everyone's name and what club they're attached to. And I was still at Cliftonville, but it said on the team sheet over there that I was at Hull, because I was very close to signing for Hull.
Right.
And so I played anyway, and I think we actually got a result that night, believe it or not. And I was on the way back, and Paul George, who obviously became one of my good mates, who was also at Celtic, he was over there at the time. He came up on the flight and said that the head of youth, Chris McCarthy, who I believe is still the head of youth at Celtic, had seen me play and was inquiring about me and wanted to get me over. So that's how I got to Celtic. So a couple of weeks later, I went over and played against Hibs at Barfield, and then started to go back and forth to Celtic. And before you knew it, I think it was at the end of that year, I signed a pre-contract and went a couple of months later.
Excellent story. You mentioned there about Paul George. He was another cracking player. And his mother actually taxed on when we put up that you were going to be on the show, wishing you well on it as well, and also mentioning who she was. And I remember when we got somebody's putting railings on the front for us. It was actually Paul George's, I think it was one of his uncles. He mentioned about it saying for Celtic at that time.
His family's from Lower Falls,
Yep, and he says he's saying it. And so I took a wee bit of interest in keeping an eye out for him. Then, of course, the BBC Scotland started showing a lot of youth games, and YouTube started showing them Celtic TV. Then you just seen how good that lad was as well.
Tony, honestly, I say this to everyone, and no matter how many interviews I've done or anything like that, I always mention him. He was unbelievable. What a talent he was. And I'm not just being biased because he was my mate, but for me, at the time, he was head and shoulders over anyone in Celtic's academy. And that, to be fair, that age group and in around that age group were some serious players coming through.
Yeah, Cal McGregor's one of them. Yep.
Cal was there. He was, Tony Watt was there. John Hearn, Marcus Fraser. Even your wee man Islam Farouz was there as well. And
Liam Henderson was another.
Chelsea,
yeah.
But for me, Paul George was the one to look out for. I really thought he would have went on. Now, obviously, it's unfortunate, and you do need a bit of luck to go on and obviously make it. But for me, Georgie was outstanding.
Yeah. And so you're under 20s, you get off, you sort of break into the team, you get yourself settled over there. Which way was the setup? Did they just lift you, lock, back and barrel and move you to Glasgow, lock, stock and barrel, get you in? Or did they give you a wee bit of time to adjust? Were you over there 5 days a week, back for the weekends, or...?
No. When you're old enough, that's you. You're free into the big pond. So when I was 16, I left school in 5th year. I didn't stay on. I just moved straight to Glasgow. I moved into digs with a couple of Irish boys. I actually went over with another lad from West Belfast, Liam Conlon, and me and him went over, and obviously Liam actually ended up getting injured and stuff, which was unfortunate for him. So he came back home after about 6 months, and so you go over, and that's basically it. That's the tough part about going over as a young kid. You miss everyone, of course, because you're so young. You're only a baby, really. You're not a man.
I know. I was thinking about you going over so young.
Yeah, well, that's it. I would always give boys advice now if they can play a few senior games first before going over. Yeah. But of course, listen, you're not going to turn down the opportunity, so it's very hard for me to say that. But no, listen, you go over, you stay in digs. The family I stayed with are unbelievable. I used to call them my Scottish man and dad. They were just brilliant to me. Yeah. And it was me and a few others that stayed there. Now, Liz and Jim, they kept boys they've been keeping boys from Celtic for years. So they were big, massive Celtic family as well. So, they helped me settle in more than anything. But it was really tough for 6 months. But that's you in full-time training every day, twice a day.
Anton spoke
so
about
it's
that
sink or swim, really, to be honest with you.
Yeah, he says he was through and with a family, and he was 19 at the time. You were 16. And he was just saying, I was a grown man, and I was living on it. He says the people were beautiful people, but he says, I was starting to develop into a man, and you know what I mean, these people were telling me to be in the house for such and such a time, but it really is. It's a life shock to jump into that situation.
Well, it is, and if I'm being truthful, and you know me, Tony, you know how much I love Celtic. So it was a dream for me to go over in the first place, but I have to be honest, for 5-6 months I absolutely hated it. So I'd obviously come from Belfast, and every team I played for, I was one of the best players, and I won everything, and then you're going into a dressing room where, and to be fair, even when I was at a few clubs in England, when you go to Celtic, it's different kettle of fish. Celtic have players from all over the world. It's not just Irish and English lads. So the dressing room's mixed with foreigners and people trying to learn English. And my very first ever digs over there, I stayed with an Italian boy who could speak 2 words of English, Leo Fassan. Now, I think don't know where he's playing now, somewhere in England or something. But he can speak English now, but at the time he couldn't, and it was stuff like that there. But Celtic were just, they were a step above everywhere I'd been, and that's including down in England as well. The whole setup, the club, and it was massive. The club was just huge, and I know we all know that, but just for me to go over, I really got my eyes opened up,
Did they take us up to Lennoxtown, or did they have a separate development for the youth team?
No, well, what happens is when you go over, you sign pro right away. So you don't do a scholarship. You sign as a pro.
Right.
So it was like under 17s and 19s. They train. I don't know if this is still happening, but we trained at Barfield, which was it's down the road from Celtic Park. So we trained there, and the first team and the reserves trained at Lennoxtown. And they trained there for a couple of years, and then obviously, after a couple of years, you move up to Lennoxtown, and then you do a gym you've done the gym at Celtic Park, and you get food there and stuff like that there. So, no, you weren't sent straight to Lennoxtown. You trained there, but as I say, you train full time every day, like.
Yeah, and so once you get over there, get yourself settled, start playing a bit of football, getting yourself established, what were you thinking yourself? What would be the next sort of move for Paddy McNally along that road? It was just a knuckle down, try and get yourself noticed.
I suppose at that time, you're trying to develop into a player. They obviously see a lot of potential in you, and that's why they bring you over. You're working with the best coaches. I mean, the coaches we had were unbelievable. Like my favourite coach at Celtic was John Kennedy back in May.
Yeah, I have a photograph here of him.
And I would say it's so good to see him do well now as the assistant behind Neil Lennon. But it was him and Stevie Frail and Tommy McIntyre and all. He's still there. And then when you go to Lennoxtown, then you Danny McGrain and stuff like that. The coaches were unbelievable. All they wanted to do was make you better. So the only thing, I just stuck my head down, mate, and you know what, just played away and trained, and I said wherever it takes me, it takes me. Obviously my ultimate dream was to play for the first team, and that wasn't to be, and that's okay. But as I say, it was a really strong group. A few of the lads got through and played a few games. A couple went through and established themselves, and they're still playing, which is great. But there's also a load of boys who were unbelievable and didn't actually are completely out of football now. And listen, that's football at that age. But see, to be honest, mate, best days of your life.
Yeah.
I always see footballers talk about their youth days, and I couldn't agree more. See the crack you have with the lads in the digs, and all the stuff you get up to in the dressing room and all. Like, honestly, probably couldn't say it on here. But honestly, some of the stuff you get up to, unbelievable. Best days of your life, without a doubt.
You get people into trouble. It's not. I mean, it's It's Anton Rogan was saying, very, very fine margins between you making it and not making it, and a lot of it is just down to luck. And along the way you can be unlucky, then you can get noticed. Anton had 2 leg breaks. Davy Hay didn't give up on him and actually told me to take it in. You look at Tommy Burns turned around and says, I was a carton boy that just got lucky. And it just takes that wee bit of luck. And we were talking about Kieran Tierney and a wee bit of luck that he got.
Yeah, I mean, listen, as you say, and I've already spoke about Georgie. I think when I went out on loan, Colin McGregor went out on loan at the same time. He went to Notts County, and me and Colin would have been quite friendly in the youth team, so we would have kept in touch. We were both out on loan, texting each other to see how we were getting on and whatever else. And I know he started to do well. And at the same time, I think Jack Grealish was actually down on loan with him. And it just shows you their loan spell went well, and look at the two of them now. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, they're 2 top of
Carl's absolutely unbelievable. I've been singing his praises since we were 16. I remember telling my dad, we have this wee lad playing midfield, and honestly, he wouldn't give a ball away in the phone box. He's unbelievable. And then a couple of years later, lo and behold, he's in the first team, and let's be honest, he's one of our best players in the first team now, isn't he? Really? So,
he's been nominated for Player of the Year.
Credit to him. And as you say, KT was a few years younger than me, but there was quite a few left backs ahead of him. And as I say, there was about 2 or 3 in our age group alone who were ahead of him. And I think I heard this story somewhere else on a podcast, and he was sort of frozen out. And I think the first team needed a player to train or something, and he stepped in. I think Dale was the manager, and KT went in and trained with the first team, and the rest is history.
And the rest is history. And Dale was pretty good at bringing in youth development. I think he brought in both KT and Cal into the first team.
Yeah.
Yep. And he gave them a goal. It's just a pity you missed out. And Ronnie's sort of.
Well, that's it. I left.
You left just before it.
I left the summer he came in. Actually, I left the summer Neil Lennon left. And as I say, I've no better. Like, the experience I had over there it shaped me up as a man. see that club in terms of standards.
Yeah.
I've carried it no matter what I've done in life. It's go to another football club or it's been in a job. I've carried those standards with me, and it stood me in good stead. And the first team manager at the time was Neil Lennon, and his standards were through the roof. And honestly, and obviously that filtered down into all the youth coaches.
Yeah.
If you let those standards slip, you would be letting know about it. Let me tell you that. Like it's just one story. We were dominating the under-20s league, and Paddy Thistle beat us one night. Now we're top of the league by quite a few points. So they beat us by, I can't remember the score. It might have been 2-1 or something. So next morning anyway, we all arrived in the train at Lennoxtown, and we're told to go and meet in the media room at Lennoxtown. So we're thinking, we're going to do a debrief for the game or something. So we're all sitting there, and then comes the first team manager. And for about 15 minutes, he just grilled us. Said, "You're playing for Celtic. If you think that's acceptable, then you don't know where you are, and you shouldn't be here." And all this here. And this is after one defeat. And if any of there weren't coloured boots, get them changed, black boots, and this, that, and the other. So right away, you just kind of went, "Wow, that's where you're at, and that's a standard." And it's no surprise for me to see how well the first team are doing now, because I got not that he was my manager, but we were there to see him time, and I got to see a lot of him, and the standards were just through the roof. The guy's just a serial winner.
Yeah, he burns from the belly out. He has that fire and passion in him to drive you on. He really is good. A great Celtic manager.
Mm-hmm.
But I
without a doubt.
Yeah, when he went down south,
everyone from first team players down respected him, and some, you had that, he would put the fear of God into you, so he had that aura about him. He has the aura of a Celtic manager for me, and for me, not that I wasn't there when Dale was there, he just seemed as if he didn't have that. And speaking to a few lads where, the gaffer and I, he's different class, and it's absolutely no surprise to me how well the first team were doing.
Yeah. It's really interesting for some people who have got kids now that they're quite good. They're in playing for Plunkett and a few others like some New Hill and all, and they wonder about their children and what it's going to be like for them going to the football clubs. You've done a few, as you say. You went over to the United Hull. What advice would you give to young kids, Paddy, and what advice would you give to parents, knowing that you're a kid out there?
Well, this is a big thing for me here. My job is involved around football. I'm not talking about me actually still playing. I'm talking about my actual job as well. And always hear these stories about parents putting a lot of pressure on kids. Don't. See if your kid's good enough, you'll get an opportunity. If your kid's good enough, he'll be spotted. You don't need to put any extra pressure on him. There's enough pressure on kids. And trust me, from personal experience, see when you get the age, when you're 15 and 16, and football really becomes your job, and there's a lot of pressure along with it. That's enough pressure for those kids. They do not need to be pressured at a young age. In terms of going over across the ladder, as I say, just embrace it. And another thing I would say is, obviously us, we cheeky lads from Belfast, I think we know it all.
Of course you know it all.
Those types of clubs, the coaches are there for a reason. They're top class, they're top of their field. They know better. So if they're telling you to do something, do it. Whether you agree or not, do it. And as I say, I know the old cliche ones, work hard. For me, it's to be mentally right as well. It's the want to work, you know what I mean, and work smart. And that's the only advice I would give kids from my personal experience, really.
Excellent. And what were your honours in the end at the under-20 level? What did you pick up, Paddy?
Well, I don't think we lost the trophy, to be honest. So I'm not sure. A few medals in the
I'm looking through
medals in the cupboard there.
Yeah.
So
I'm reading the wee green book because they're all over.
Stuff like that.
Yeah, because they're all over the wee green book. No honours all over it. So I was wondering what your own tally was. Lovely picture of you is all in it, and some great players in amongst that as well. So say Colin McNally.
See, even if you're mentioning in our team, I know he didn't go on and really establish himself at Celtic, but Jackson Irving's captain of Hull now, and Jacko was in our team.
Yeah. And
Jacko played the World Cup against France, when France went on to win it. So
right enough.
Wee things you got. So, there was that team, that age group was brilliant. And as far as I'm aware now, the age group coming through now is something else as well. If you look at your wee man Mikey Johnson, he's something else, isn't he?
Yeah.
So,
yeah. He's also a bit of an attitude on him. Yeah, he's a great kid. Like, I was just looking through there. I see big Owen O'Connell. I know you keep in touch with Owen. He's at Ratsdale or something now, isn't he?
Owen's at Ratsdale.
Yeah.
Owen was my best mate at Celtic, and still is one of my best mates. Was actually on FaceTime to him earlier, funny enough, as you mentioned that.
Hope he's listening to the show.
So, what's that?
I hope he's listening to the show.
Oh, he loves it. Owen loves it. Now, Owen's a Liverpool supporter, but he's as soon as he went to Celtic, I converted him, like, because I was flat out playing Celtic songs every hour night in the digs, like, so he's a Celtic man now, though. So no, I was talking to him earlier, and he was talking away, and we were talking, but the only difference I think now in the youth teams, I don't think a lot of the kids now, do a lot of the jobs or anything that we used to do. Like, Owen was mentioning, like, he made his debut for Celtic, and he was out the day after cleaning 40 pairs of boots. Stuff like that.
Yeah, they're still making you clean boots at youth level. They still make you clean boots at youth level, yeah.
Well, my job was, I used to get the equipment and the drinks ready for the first team. So before the first team trained,
right.
At Leamington, there's a big thing behind the training facility, and you just have to go in every morning and get the parties and waters and whatever else and all the coolers and stuff, and make sure they're all sitting there for the first team. And used to pump the balls up the right temperature, right pressure, and if they weren't, then you get the head chewed off you, like. But as I say, it was good. It was very good grounding. Now I know, like, even he playing here in the Irish League now, like, you see some of the kids coming into training with the first team, and as soon as training's finished, like, they're straight into the dressing room, and you're like, whoa, fucking get that equipment, lift it, they think they're players already.
Yeah,
I think that would sort of, that's the only thing that I wouldn't totally agree with.
Right.
When you're a kid, we go in and do your jobs and clean the boots and do whatever you have to do and clean the dressing rooms and whatever else, because we done it all.
Yep.
It did us no harm. In terms of learning values and whatever else, did us no harm.
Declan, here's a few questions for you here, but before you go into that, Paddy, out of the whole Celtic team, when you were at that youth level, getting the out parades and all out, who was the best gentleman within the group that would have came and had a few words and, be overly nice and respectful?
Are you talking in terms of
the professional players? Yeah, and
there's probably a couple. We used to have to work at the first team games at Celtic Park. So basically, we're in the dressing room with the first team to prepare for games, but we're just there to make sure they have their boots, and if they need anything, get their kits out for them and stuff like that. And there would have been 3 or 4 of us doing that every hour Saturday, at the home games.
Yeah.
So for me, Paddy McCourt was different class with me, so he was, Tony.
Paddy, yep.
Now, I don't know if he just put his arm around me because I'm an Irish lad as well, but Paddy was unbelievable. There was a few nice guys. Jamesy was amazing. Like, I know Jamesy wasn't long in the first team himself, like, but Jamesy was class. And there was one thing I'd say about Jamesy. See, when you're outside Leamington, you're cleaning 40, 50 pairs of boots.
Yeah.
Jamesy would have come off the training pitch for the first team and stood with you and cleaned his own boots. Do you know what I mean? The wee lad was just different class.
Yeah.
And I actually, it was a couple of years ago, a wee kid that had asked me to get a signed pair of boots off Jamesy because he was his favourite player, and within days, Jamesy sent a pair of boots over and signed them and all, like, different class. So people like that there were brilliant, and Big Charlie Mulgrew was always a gentleman, never would have passed you, and first team lads were great, mate. There was no real, big time Charlies there, like,
Oh, that's superb. Right, we've got Declan here. Declan, you know Declan anyway, you know him from going up to the Reds games as well.
Yes. What's happening, Declan?
Right, what's happening, Paddy? All good?
All good, mate, all good.
Just a few questions here, just from your time in the youth. I know you say Paul George was the best one, but in your opinion, who was the best player you played with in the youth system?
I would have to say Colin McGregor, mate. Sure. He was the wee lad was just a joke. Like, he just honestly didn't give a ball away. He always passed the ball forward, and he always chipped in the goals every other game. So, I think without a doubt, Colin.
Yeah, he seems to be. And at your time at Celtic in the youth system, what was your best game that you played in?
I can't remember games I played in Portugal in this season.
That's why I have him beside me. Paddy, he reminds me.
I remember a game I played. I was 16. It was one of the first. It was only over a few months. It was a reserve team game behind closed doors against St Johnson's first team. A few of us kids played in it, and I played in. We beat them 2-1. Remember, because Paddy McCourt played in midfield with Bolo Zendon. Believe it or not, Bolo Zendon was on trial at Celtic. And I can remember sitting in the dressing room going, fuck me, I'm sitting in the dressing room with a Champions League winner here. You know,
Yeah.
and Paddy and Bolo played in midfield. I think Chris Cameron's played out left. And not necessarily because it was my best game personally, but I was only 16, and I think it was a wee bit in all of it. And we played 90 minutes, and it was against St Johnson's first team because we were on international break, and we beat them 2-1 or something. So that one sticks out for me. Yeah.
Excellent.
And I don't know if you played with him in the youth system, but I know he was there at the team that you were there. Have you got any Paul Slane stories at all? Have you?
Slaney stories? Fuck mate, I've
Throw him under the bus, Paddy.
I couldn't say them.
That's some character.
The maddest, honestly, the maddest, funniest man you'll ever meet in your life, honestly. When we obviously eventually went up to Lannistown, we shared the same dressing room every day, like, and Slaney was mostly injured. God love him, like, he didn't get much of a run at it in terms of luck, like, but see if you're getting in and you're upset mate, or you're injured or you're down, like, that man just picked you up. He was just unbelievable. What a character.
Yeah,
I'm sure you watch all his podcasts, do you?
I do. He's absolutely bonkers.
Hilarious, mate. He's like that Adam Moore in person. He's unbelievable.
Then at Cliftonville, you went to Cliftonville alone. How was Tommy with you? How was he as a manager?
Mate, Brazzy was brilliant with me. The difficulty for me was I was a kid. I was 18 or 19. And I walked into a team who just won the league and barely lost any games. Looking back now, having got a bit of experience, I can understand why he didn't play me every week. We see an 18-year-old centre half. It's not an 18-year-old winger. As a centre half, you have to go in, you have to read the game for 90 minutes without switching off. And as a kid, you don't do that. You make mistakes, Declan, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you have to get the time to do that. Thankfully, Brazzy played me every other week. And I think I went from from the Celtic coaches to Brazzy, and I think Brazzy and Mendo complemented each other brilliantly. Mendo was an absolute legend, like, come in, but Mendo would have been the madman in the dressing room, and Brazzy would have been the calming influence. You know what I mean? The good cop. So if there's one thing I would have learned from him, was his man management was second to none. Declan, to be honest.
Yeah,
he just managed people. Brazzy was just amazing at managing people, and he was just fortunate enough they had a brilliant team at the time, and he was a perfect man to lead that team to what they did. And for me, it was my first year in senior football, and you know what a schooling it was for me just to sit there. Even as I say, I didn't play much, probably played 15 to 20 games, I'm not too sure, but just to sit back and, you know, learn and watch all the rest of the lads, it was unbelievable. And that team as well, I must say, was one of the maddest teams I've ever been involved in.
Yeah, they were two.
It would surprise you how much they won. It was honestly, it was just banter. You know, you would think, you know, looking back, oh, they won this and they won that. But honestly, see the characters in that dressing room, the boys just went and had a laugh. Every training, every game, every away trip, it was just unbelievable. What an experience it was.
You were there when Boise was there, weren't you? Yeah.
Boise was there, yeah.
Yeah.
So it was the season. Boise and Joe were just banging goals in for fun, like, so. What a player Boise was, well.
Oh, legend.
Yeah, looking back, with Brazzy and Minto, I have to say, I'd seen the two of them play and take over in midfield, and it's hard to believe they never won a trophy together at Cliftonville, and they must have been one of the best midfield duos that ever played in the Irish League. And I tell you,
is that right? I didn't know that. Tony, is that right?
Yep. I see Minto was probably, and I don't say this lightly, Minto was probably the best player I've ever seen in the Irish League by a mile.
Well, so I heard, and now I'm down at Portadown. I've heard a few stories about him. He played there.
He played for the Porch. So he broke our hearts moving down there. But
now Minto will tell me that he saved Clinville with his fee, like.
Yeah. But
he said he saved Clinville as a club from going bust with his fee. So
I
heard he was on a few quid as well, like.
Yeah. He was the best by a mile player I'd say. And another market man, you can't go and not messing him, Johnny McMullen. Jesus, he pulled that team up by its, you know what I mean, balls really.
Unbelievable.
He was
so to this night,
unbelievable player.
Tony, honestly, I know I'm not long in football. I'm 25. Played first team football since I was 18, so 6 or 7 years. George McMullen, hands down the best captain I've ever played for, honestly. Yeah. Unbelievable. And I'm not just saying that because he's a Marga man, but the best captain I've ever played for. Led by example on the pitch, didn't shout too much, was, you know, was a pure leader just by what he did on the pitch. And when he didn't speak much, but when he did speak, people listened. So that was a big quality I learned from him.
He also listens to the show as well. He'd be loving this. He listens to the show.
He's a good mate. No, he's a good mate of mine. He's a legend, the wee man.
I love him. I absolutely love him.
Just one last question, Paddy. At your time, this is the last Celtic question. At your time at Celtic, did Neil Lennon ever put you aside for like a private chat or anything like that? Was he good on with you?
To be fair, like he was more focused just on the first team, but to be fair, I trained with the first team a few times as well, and he pulled me aside a few times. I remember when he was on loan at Plimville, he pulled me aside a few times, asking how I was getting on and who was playing and how I was doing personally and stuff like that. So just even for him to take the time to do that, was brilliant for me. But I've always sung his praises, and when he got the job last year, I heard we were actually at Hampden. You were with your dad when we went to the cup final, weren't you?
Yeah. We're on the same bus.
And
I think you're married my shirt as well.
That was the one where the bus broke down, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So I heard a lot of fans around Hampden after he got the job, and it's a fucking joke and all this here. I just said to my dad, honestly, that he's the best man for Celtic. Without a doubt.
Yeah,
he's proved it beyond a doubt. That European run this year was something else.
He's different class.
I'd go as far to say that he's played better football than Rodgers at times.
Brilliant, and he can change it up as well.
He can.
He's not as stubborn in Europe, you know what I mean? He can change it up.
Here, Paddy, let's get on. We'll do a wee quick run over your coming home. So you left Celtic, you end up at Cliftonville, as I say, for that year. We've coloured a wee bit there. When you finally walked away from Celtic, you ended up at Glenavon.
I went to Glenavon. It was what they say in October or something, and then I left in January just for reasons outside of football, to be honest. And as I say, that's when it. That's the opposite side of it. My head at that stage, my head wasn't in it. I was playing football for the wrong reasons. Didn't enjoy it. Didn't enjoy training. Hated going to games and whatever else. And and see, to be fair, it proves on the pitch like you're not playing well or anything. You're just not in a good place. And as I said to you before, Tony, it took a couple of years for me to actually fall in love with football again. And it's only been the last couple of seasons really where I've actually really enjoyed and got the real buzz back for it. So as I say, there's real highs in football, but there's also some serious lows, and that's what I'll also say to some young players.
Yeah.
That it's not all everyone thinks footballer it's just amazing life. It's not. There's a lot of times I've been really low, whether that be after games or after training sessions. So you're sometimes you're in a real dark place, and that's just because you're not enjoying it. But as I say, on a positive note, I think you have to go through experiences like that to come out the other end then. And me now, like I'm in a brilliant place and I'm loving the football again. And thankfully, it's actually proven on the pitch because then your performances start coming.
I can see the glow in you.
Because your head's right.
Yeah, because I've seen you this last couple of transfers. You went from Glenavon, you went to Ballymena. I remember you being up at Carrick. You had a good time at Carrick, if I remember rightly. And
to be fair, I enjoyed that, and that was brilliant to play first team games every week. It was brilliant for me, so it was.
And you ended up at Larne. You were outstanding at Larne, and it didn't work out as well as maybe you thought, and all of us thought, because you were.
It was probably the best season I've had in football. To be honest,
you got Player of the Year up there as well, didn't you?
Loved it. Well, the way they done it was there was like it's top 3 players, and so we had a serious squad at Larne, like even Jeff Hughes and all coming back. Jeff Hughes played in the playoff final at Wembley like a couple of months before, and then he signed for Larne. Our squad was serious, like Conor Davlin and goal and stuff, and Tomas playing right wing, and Marty Donnelly, and that was brilliant. Like I loved that. But no, I came third anyway behind Davy and Marty. In the Player of the Year, but to be fair, if I'm being truthful, we sat down and we're trying to speak about a new contract and all, but the club are going full time. I have a job at the minute, and I was asking, just to compensate what I was, obviously earning in my work, and obviously on top of that, then with football, we just couldn't come to an agreement. And basically, bottom line was I just couldn't go full time. It just financially didn't make sense to me at the time.
Yeah.
And that's just it. That's just the honest truth of it.
Yeah, and he ended up at Portadown, who were totally Portadown have been totally off the scene for years. I've been battling to try and get a bit of stability at their club. Then, of course, you and Connell come along, like 2 nights down into Portadown and lift them up, and all of a sudden, top of the league.
I'm not sure I'd take credit for that, like, but Big Cornell probably would, like, but I would.
Yeah.
But no, listen, when we're down there, and as I say, you know, massive club over here as well, and the fan base is unbelievable. I want to see the crowds we bring to games and stuff like that. But Portadown have restructured their whole club in terms of right from their chairman to their board to their management to their players. The whole club was restructured, like from a couple of years ago, from they went down. And the club are finally in a really good place at the minute. And as I say, on the pitch we were doing it as well. We were top of the league until obviously the lockdown happened. And listen, hopefully we can continue going the way we're going and get promoted. And you know, as I say, as a footballer, I'm really settled there at the minute. So hopefully we can keep winning and doing the right thing.
I'm absolutely delighted for you. I'm really delighted that you're enjoying your football and you've got your mate beside you. And I love seeing the wee tweets that come up, you know, when you are playing and the 2 years are scoring and you have that wee dance and all done in your tweets. I really love seeing that because I think
Cole loves it. He loves it, doesn't he?
Yeah, he loves it. And you know what I think is, he's a smashing lads and I've had a lot of time for you.
He's some man.
He is indeed. Paddy, it's been an absolute pleasure. It says give us 15 minutes of your time and now you're into 37 minutes. You're an absolute gentleman for hanging out with us here on the show.
Anytime.
Yep, and you've given a great insight for young kids out there trying to make it in the game and also parents who are worried about young kids as well. You've really given insight into the workings of the club and a few players as well.
That's it. Hopefully it helps a few young kids. If it helps one young kid, then happy days, mate.
You're an absolute gentleman, and it's been an absolute pleasure to speak with you. And when this lockdown's over, I owe you a big drink for doing this.
Not a problem. Good man. Listen, Tony, I can keep doing what you're doing. That's brilliant.
You're much appreciated. Paddy, thanks for your time, mate, and send all your love to all my love to your family, but also tell your granda Sean happy 69th birthday when you see him.
Brilliant. Thanks very much.
Not a problem.
See you later, Paddy.
Okay, Paddy, all the best, night.
Happy days. See you later.
Bye, night. Bye.
Good man. Bye.